Do you want to introduce yourself?
Well, I'm Sabrina Fallah. I'm from Ottawa, Ontario, Canada. I'm a rock singer, songwriter, and guitarist, and I love to perform, write music, tour, and just sing my heart out.
Do you want to start out with who your 3 producers are that you've worked with over the past years?
I've worked with Stuart F., who has worked with Twisted Sister, Oasis, and Led Zeppelin. I've worked with Chris Burkett, who has worked with Buffy Sainte-Marie and Shania O'Connor. And I've worked with Ken Wells, who is Dolly Parton's producer and bandmate. First EP, I worked with Stuart F. with self-titled Sabrina Fallah. My single, The Frontline, was produced with Chris Burkett. And my Kiss is a Killer EP was produced with Ken Wells.
Do you want to start out talking about your first self-titled album and just how you worked with the producer and kind of the behind the scenes of making it?
Well, when I went to England, Stuart actually got me a band. Actually, the drummer, the guitarist, and the bassist were from 3 different bands. So he just took his bandmates from people he knew and put them together. My drummer was actually a metal drummer. So he's like, I'm not going to play metal, but I'm going to play the rock sound that you want. And they were also sweet. We did the album live off the floor, so I didn't record the tracks and then record the vocals. We recorded the band and the vocals together in one room. So it sounded like I was live in front of the audience, live on stage. So I did it live in the studio. So, they were very nice to me. Stuart would offer me tea. His wife would make me salad, food, special food that it wouldn't affect my vocal cords. But the funny thing is I would always ask them for coffee. But in England, all they drink is tea, so it was funny. But I would get the little biscuits too. They were very welcoming. And the most interesting thing, in my song Breakthrough on that EP, I played the bridge in that song on the guitar. So the only part you can hear me play on the album is the bridge of Breakthrough. I got to play that little section just to have a little spot on the record on guitar. So I got that part. So yeah, that was an interesting trip. I was also very jet lagged going. So Stuart would be like, sleep around 1 or 2 a.m. to make it like just sleeping in Canada, the way you're sleeping in Canada. And also I fell a few times in the studio because I was jet lagged. So there's a little funny things that happened, but I still got up and sang. But yeah, that was funny.
Do you want to just explain the difference of recording the vocals and the backtrack together and the difference between them doing it separately?
Being with a band in the studio, singing together sounds like you're live on stage. But Chris Burkett and Kent Wells, I did them separately. So they would record the tracks, the band tracks, and then afterwards I would go into the studio and sing the vocals. It's actually really different. It's so cool singing live with the band, but sometimes producers like to do it the other way. But the thing is, Chris Burkett recorded all the tracks himself. So he played the drums, the bass, the guitar. And Kent got a band for me, and he played the acoustic guitar on the acoustic track. But then I went in and sang the vocals afterwards. Either way is good, but it depends on the producer, the way that they want to do it.
Do you want to talk about how you met your producer?
So Stuart, I went to college in 2010, way back. And I was taking the pre-music production program. And it's about it's to learn the business of music. It's not like I'm learning instruments or anything. It's the music, it's the business aspect. So I had a producer's class where the producer could come in or talk on the phone to us or talk on Skype. So that morning, Stuart called in on Skype on video, so everybody could see. He could see us, and we could see him on the screen. What I didn't know was my teacher happened to have the computer or the laptop turned a certain way that was aiming at me. So so when Stuart was asking the class, because he was just asking questions like who plays an instrument, who writes, who sings, who wants to do this as a career. So I of course raised my hand for every question. So out of the blue, he just asked my teacher, Lou, could I talk to that girl on the left-hand side of the room? And I'm like, oh, geez. And me back then, I was very shy. He pointed at me, and then Stuart asked me questions like, do you follow the songwriting structure? At that time, I wasn't because I was just writing, but now I do. He asked me if I wanted to pursue it or how far I want to go, and then I told him. And then out of the blue, he told my teacher, can you please give Sabrina my email after class? So then after that, 40 people in the class were looking at me. I'm freaking out. I'm like, I just got an opportunity with Stuart. That's right in front of my 40 people in the class. And of course I was freaking out because I'm like, what just happened, you know? Then, a year later, I went to England and I did my album with him. So that's how it all came about with Stuart. I came home going, I'm going to be working with Stuart. Like me, so young, so excited, going crazy back then. Oh yeah. A few years later, down the road, I was in Toronto, about 5 hours away from where I live. I went to Songwriters Association to network with songwriters. But outside the building, there was a guy standing, tying his bike to a post. And I don't know why, just somehow we just got into conversation. And then he asked me, what are you here for? I'm like, I'm here to network, to see if somebody knows a producer I can work with and so forth. And then he's like, well, there's this producer I heard about, Chris Burkett. He's really good if you want to work with him. I'm like, really? Oh, cool. And then from that day forward, I worked with Chris Burkett. It's just meeting the right people at the right time and being at the right place. Like, I didn't expect any of that, right? And then years go by. Then I'm searching online to find people to work with. And I somehow got in contact with somebody in Nashville who wanted to help me, who organized the songwriters, a place to stay, and introduced me to Count Wells. I went there. I actually stayed in her home. And wonderful, wonderful people. And yeah, one wonderful experience. And yes, in the studio, I saw Dolly Parton's awards on the wall and everything. And I stood right where she sang in her booth and all that. But, you know, she didn't come into the studio any time I was there. But I could like feel like the presence of like so many people walking in that studio. It felt so cool. But yeah, it was very welcoming. And I did not expect to go and work with Kent Wells. It just happened that I was put to work with him. So yeah, it was fun.
You mentioned earlier that one producer tried to change you. You were on the path of going towards a rock sound. Do you just want to speak upon how that felt and the experience surrounding it?
When I first started, before I went to, I think it was before I met Stuart, obviously. I was working with a producer, and all he wanted to do was like, you can't be a rock singer, okay? Like, no. You're going to do pop, 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 pop. I don't know why they were always wanting to change me into something I'm not, but that's when the controlling comes in. No, they'll never succeed like that. Let's change them. So I've had a few people, I've even had people I have worked with, songwriters that I have worked with tell me like, if you don't practice this many hours a day, you'll never succeed in this business. And I literally looked at them. I'm like, so I have to play guitar for 14 hours to succeed? You must be kidding me. It's crazy. that's where I have learned to stick to my guns and not let anybody stop me. And that's when I started working with these producers. They were always asking me, what's the sound? How do you want it? Like, what kind of bands are you influenced by? Like, my first album, I was influenced by the old school Green Day, like the Dookie days. And the front line I did with Chris, it was Green Day, but I've been told it sounds a lot like Joan Jett. Which, it's okay. I love it too. And my Kiss is a Killer album was very Green Day based, but it has a lot of different influences that people are hearing other artists. Like someone told me, well, one of my songs sounds like the old Avril. I'll take that because I loved Avril when she first came out. Now she's changing so much into more pop and it's turning me away. But her older stuff were way better. I would say, no matter what you do in the business, always stick to what you're doing because that's where you're supposed to be. Because if you change because somebody else says to change, you will not enjoy that journey at all. So I'm glad I didn't change. Because I do sing pop, but it's not me. I like to be more edgy, have more attitude and more feeling in my music.
Would you explain the aspects of Green Day and how you emulate that through your own music?
I love their sound. I basically hear the feel and the emotion, and I try to put it in my music. I also look at the way they write and what kind of stories they're telling, and try to think about, okay, so that's how they would write it, and then I think about how I can put it on paper. But it also depends on who I am writing with too. So everybody has different ways of writing, but I can always say, I want this song to sound like that song or have that feel of it. And then we just work around it. Because if I sound like a Green Day, like the song of Green Day, I can get sued. So I have to be careful. But I say, I like this feel to be this way. For example, Stuck Up, I was thinking of What's Her Name by the American Idiot album of Green Day. But it ended up being not so close. But I was influenced by that song.
Is there any advice that your producers have given you that has stuck with you throughout these years?
Ken told me, don't be afraid to whisper, because I thought as a singer, you're not supposed to whisper because the vocals rub. He said, that's not true. It's okay to whisper if you're singing or to over push. It's not going to harm. So he was trying to tell me, like, be comfortable. Nothing's going to happen to your voice. Because he was making me sing 3 hours a day to make sure everything is perfect. He was really working me harder than any other producer. Like, he really wanted it to sound so good before he put the product out. And I understood that because even I would want the product to sound good before I put it out. So, and actually one day I sang for 3 hours in the studio. I had a show that night and I was told, it's okay. You don't have to do it. I went and I sang it at the show. I just didn't talk for 4 hours after the studio. And then it just relaxes the vocal cords and you're fine.
When we were talking earlier in this week, you told me the story about your song Everything with Chris.
Yes.
Do you want to just tell our listeners what that's all about and the good-hearted feeling that followed that story?
Yeah, so when I was in the studio in Toronto with Chris, he told me he had a song that him and his daughter wrote years back called Everything. And he said, I think it would suit your voice. Would you like to try it? So he gave me the song. He re-recorded it so it sounded new because he had the old version. He reproduced it for me, sent me the track. I practiced with it. There were some pretty tough notes there that I had to sing a certain way, but I got it eventually. But then when I went to the studio and I sang it, I'm like, man, this is my song. Like, it fit my voice so well. But I wish I got it earlier in the years because that song is about teenage anxiety, what you go through as a teenager, not knowing what to do, all the drama, having to smile and fake it because they're not having a good day. And I went through that as a teenager. Every day I went through that. So it's true. Teenagers do have anxiety at that age. And I'm happy that he gave me the song to sing, and people are actually enjoying it. They're actually liking the song.
And what year was that released again?
2019.
Okay. And then you also mentioned that you recorded Frontline at that time?
2015, I recorded Frontline. Oh, yeah, okay. Because 2016, I went to Nashville. It was close. So 2015, I recorded Frontline and everything. But then I decided to release Frontline. I was making an album. Then the next year, and then later on that year, the same year, 2015, I got the opportunity to go to Nashville. So everything switched. And then I still had everything. So I thought I had to eventually release it because I don't want to keep a song for too long not being released. So then in 2019, I said, why not? It's time. Let's just release it because, it's there. It's done. All Chris had to do was finish the mastering to release it, but it was done. So yeah, so that song was recorded a few years before I actually released it. So it's interesting.
Do you want to explain what Frontline is about?
Frontline is about going for your dreams and not letting anyone stop you. If you're going up the mountain and sometimes you lose friends and you make friends along your journey, but no matter what, you're still going up. If they're going to come or not come, you're still going. I lost a lot of friends because they weren't supportive, so I had to walk away. And that's when I wrote the song because I was actually in Toronto, away from my friends. And it's sad when they don't contact you while you're trying to pursue your journey and they don't care. But I wrote that song to remind myself and other people that don't worry about it. Just go. You will make real friends along the way who will stick by you. Because I lost my friends because they weren't there for me. They obviously weren't my real friends, or else they would still be here. And that's the truth.
I think a lot of people resonate with that.
After Nashville, everything changed for me. Things were going up. So I'm glad I did leave them because you don't need negative people in your life, right?
Correct.
To bring you down. Plus, they were not very, they were so mean and so unsupportive. You don't want that. And also, I'm older now. I still don't want people who still think they're in high school. Like some people just don't grow up also. So I know I'm being very open, but I'm just telling the truth. Some people just don't want to grow up. Like you can stay young at heart, but at a certain age, you have to grow up. You just do. I grew up and I made a choice that hurt, but I just had to walk or else I would still be where I was sitting in my room waiting for something to happen. So I had to take that step. I walked away. I went to Nashville. And after Nashville, I got signed. I got on the radio. Everything just started. And now I'm here with you. If I didn't make those changes, I probably wouldn't be here talking to you. I'll probably still be frustrated on why nothing was happening.
Do you want to talk about a couple of your other songs and the importance that they hold to you?
Well, I did write about depression. Paradise Comes with a Price, which is also acoustically recorded like Hurt. And I actually wrote that song. I think that was the year Robin Williams passed. And I remember sitting in the room with the songwriter at 10 o'clock at night. And then I told him, I want to write about a song to help people get through it. I don't want to write about it, And then I said, why don't we write about what we think Robin Williams went through? He inspired that song because it's so sad, Like I can't even watch his movies anymore. But I really looked up to him. He was a very nice person. So I just thought, why don't we just write about not giving up and staying strong and you will get through it. And that's what the song's about.
Here is a clip of Paradise Comes with a Price.
Paradise comes with a price.
Do you want to discuss how your first album and EPs started your career and the impact they had on you, and if there's still an impact today after so many years of being released?
I can say that my first EP, my first self-titled EP, started my career, and it got so much reaction that I'm happy that I could continue doing music, because they always say the first album has to go to the next one. So I'm glad it caught attention. And I have to say that my song One Chance from my first EP is the one that started the journey. And to this day, it's still getting played on the radio. I'm really surprised by that, but yeah, people still love that song. Very first song I ever released on that EP. They still love it.
Here is a clip from One Chance.
I don't want to stay behind these walls. I don't want to wait for him to call me. I just want to take the time it takes to make him know. If only I had one chance to take me with you. One more chance to make me feel the way you make me feel.
Do you want to explain what One Chance is about?
It's about wanting the guy you like to go out with you. I liked somebody in college, and I wrote that song about him. And it's funny because to this day, he knows about the song and he loves it. We are very good friends, but nothing ever happened. But I'm glad we still have a good friendship. I'm glad that nothing happened, so we didn't lose a friendship. Because sometimes if you go out with somebody and then it ends, there's no friendship, right? So I'm glad I have him as a friend, but he just loves that song. I actually sang it to him, and then I went to a songwriter to improve upon it. So yeah, he heard it along the whole process. He loved it. He's like, yay, I'm in a song. Like literally, he loved it. Because it was a good song. I don't think a guy would like it if I wrote something bad about them, but I don't really write stuff like that. I don't try to be mean in a song. I'm just trying to be honest, you know?
Mm-hmm. Is there anything else that you'd like to talk about today?
No matter what you want to do in life, don't give up and just go for it. There will be some tough days where you're like, it's not going to happen and you don't know what to do. But I'm telling you right now, the minute you go down, something is going to bring you right back up. You just don't stop. Because the minute you stop, you might be missing, something might be coming your way, and then you're going to miss that opportunity. So just keep going. It will happen eventually. I'm still waiting for something to happen for me, so I keep going to push my music. And I'm doing my best not to give up, because it's very difficult. But you just have to keep going and just believe in yourself, and you will get there.
Thank you for taking the time out of your day and talking to me, Sabrina.
Thank you.
You're listening to KWSC 91.9 The Cat in Wayne, Nebraska. This is Whitney Winter, and thank you for listening to this interview with my special guest, Sabrina Fallah.